right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a cool, very cool. I'm not trying to undersell this at all. This is awesome. We have an awesome boss battle lined up. We have none other than Bosh and Roll, who will hopefully be on the receiving end of some spankings. We have set up the premise that we are playing post-grief legacy, which means we basically time travel, let's say a few weeks from now, and then try and predict what will legacy look like at that point. And we decided to each bring 3 different decks to try and showcase, different strategies that could get the job done in the new world of non-grief. The last legacy video I did was my rerun of the showcase, which was legacy with grief, and here we are, legacy without grief. And I actually thought I would simply just try the blue-black deck without grief. So that's going to be my first deck of today. Blue-black reanimator. We know the drill. Put Archon or Attrax into play. Profit. Laugh all the way to the bank. This deck plays 3 copies of Thoughtseize and 2 Murktide regions in place of 4 griefs and a copy of Animate Dead. The main reason for cutting an Animate Dead is that Grief is like this organic card that organically ends up in your graveyard, so we don't have that anymore. Thoughtseize can sometimes take creatures out of the opponent's hand, but there is some world where drawing too many reanimate effects is going to be bad, so trimming one of those seemed fine. I still play the exact same mana base, I believe. Yes, the exact same mana base. Cantrips, 4 Entomb, 4 Reanimates. Psychic Frog is the plan B, and it's being aided by Murktide Regent. So Murktide Regent is kind of bad against, Leyline of the Void, Rest in Peace type cards, but it's good against, Surgicals of the world, I guess, Cage, etc. So Murktide is a pretty good plan B, I would say. And so you have Frogs and Murktides as your plan B. I think that's fine. We still have the Catch-All / Random Threat and Brazen Borrower. And yeah, I'm mainly curious to see if this Thoughtseize can be, 90% grief, and the deck is still amazing. That would be ideal, right? For me, at least. In the sideboard, I have a couple of Consigned to Memory. I've talked about this card in a previous video where I highlighted some potent sideboard cards. Consigned to Memory is a kind of flexible card. It's very good against Eldrazi, very good against Artifact combo. You can sometimes bring it in against like decks that only has, the One Ring, or maybe countering a triggered ability is going to be awesome in the matchup. I can think about stuff like Doomsday here. I can think about stuff like maybe a Storm type deck where you can counter Storm Trigger. Let's see. I think that card is quite strong. A couple of negations against fast combo. A couple of Harbingers as my, Blood Moon type card. Worth noting is all my fetches get Island, Troll, and Delta get Swamp. And especially the Swamp part is important because you'll have plenty of blue mana under Harbinger, but if you also have black, you'll be in a very good spot. You can cast Frogs, Reanimation, etc. I think that card is going to be extremely potent if Brian is bringing something like 12 Post, like Eldrazi's. Then I have a couple of Bowmasters as a catch-all card. I thought about hedging harder for Up the Beanstalk with Narset, but I ended up going for Orcish Bowmasters. This card can come in against, Toughness 1 creatures, cantrip decks. This card will just most likely be fine against whatever Brian's bringing. A couple of Go for the Throat, hard removal, killing Murktide, Knight of the Reliquary, stuff like that is important. Pushes, killing small creatures for when the game kind of slows down after sideboard. We're going to face hate, and we might have to play a bit more of a tempo plan. And then a couple of Surgicals are back on the menu now that Grief is out of the picture. I think this deck is going to be pretty well-rounded. Most likely this is going to be, the deck asking questions to the opponent. And if Brian is on some kind of unfair deck, I think this deck is just good in general, between Force of Will, Thoughtseize, Daze, Wasteland, that type of stuff. All right, that's going to do it for the first deck tech. Let's see what deck 2 is about. All right, look at the creativity. Another Demir deck. That's simply just too creative. How do these YouTubers come up with such creativity? No, but let's be serious here. A lot of these cards are underplayed because of how Grief is just so strong that playing blue-black without it is very hard to justify. So this deck is about taking Tamiyo and Nethergoyf for a walk here. Tamiyo, pretty cool 1-drop, can flip into a value planeswalker that can win the game. If we can stall the game from there, we're most likely winning. This does a lot for 1 mana. It's typically a must kill, and if not, we have some clues for later when we have extra mana. Nethergoyf is like a cheap beater that comes back. It's good with baubles. We have to include baubles to have, enough different types, but that's fine because bauble is also good with Tameo and getting to draw the 3rd card. So let's say you have your draw step, you have a bauble, you crack from the opponent's turn, and then you cast 1 ponder or crack a clue, then all of a sudden Tameo's flipped. So that's kind of a cool interaction. We still play Psychic Frog because that card is just absurd, can just win games on its own. We find room for Bowmasters here because we're going fair. Our removal split is a bit weird. 3 pushes, an Edict, and a Brazen, so we're kind of hedging against small guys, but in reality, this one is just the most efficient. Single Stifle that I hope to get Brian with today, but yeah, you never know. Mana base looks pretty standard, except there are some black fetches in here because we want to be able to fetch out our swamp more easily. We don't play Troll in this deck, so we want to support the Harbingers in the sideboard, which once again, I think that card is going to be very relevant in the new metagame. Couple of Consign, we already know the deal with that card. Single Hydroblast, hedging a little bit against, a little bit of Grixis Delver here, a little bit of Painter, a little bit of Red Prison. This card will be okay. Dress Down, also a hedge card when it comes to, initiative creatures, Thassa's Oracle, Ursa Saga tokens, you name it. 3 negations to not die to fast combo. This deck does not run the Thoughtseize that the reanimator deck did, so that's why I'm hedging a little harder for combo. The Harbingers we already discussed. Then I play a copy of Narset to kind of hard shut down cards like the One Ring and Beanstalk. Sheldred's Edict to... The cool thing about this card is you can even bring it in against like Jeskai Control, killing stuff like Teferi, like Narset. This card is just solid. It's also a Merit Lage Answer. Rope of the Throat, another hard removal for, the stuff I talked about before, Murktide Regent, Knight of the Reliquary, just big bad guys. A couple of Surgicals can be good against, some reanimation that Brian may or may not bring. It's fine against Uro. It can shut down some combo decks. This card is decent. And then a copy of Pithing Needle as the ultimate catch-all, where whether it's like Sneak Attack or Ursa Saga or Thespian Stage or the One Ring, Pithing Needle can do a whole lot. It's even good against all the Welders. It's good against Grindstone. This card will be fine against a broad field, which this dream world of non-Grieve Legacy hopefully will be. All right, that was the second deck tech. Let's see what I figured out for the third one, if I can go triple Underground Z deck. Okay, last deck on the table today is going to be Mono Red Prison. So the biggest reason why I like Mono Red Prison is when Blood Moons are good. And I predict that Blood Moons are going to be strong in the new metagame, especially with Eldrazi's at the top table. I believe if you play a Blood Moon out against that deck, they can't really cast any Eldrazi's because they don't have colorless mana. So that's like the number one thing. Chalice of the Void is, of course, also very important. So what's different about this deck? Let's see. I'm playing a bit more Goblin-focused because I play Gut True Soul Zealot. This card hits very hard, and I'm excited to try it out. If we can play it on counterable, it's even better. So that's why I added some Cavern of Souls. I have Bombardiers, I have Gut, I have Rabble Masters, I have Squee as Goblins, and I don't mind naming Human and slamming on counterable Magus either. So let's see. We put a bit more mana sources in the deck between a couple of Petals and switching some old lands for Sundering Eruption, which is basically a red source that you can also put under a Chrome Mox or imprint to Pitch to Fury, rather. I play a couple of Great Furnaces in the mana base to supplement Gut and Bombardier a little better. Bombardier, an extremely aggressive threat that ends the game quickly. It's especially potent with One Ring. Get the protection, draw some cards, put the One Ring in the cannon, and boom. There goes the opponent a lot of the time. Fable is the standard 3-drop alongside Rabble Master. I play full Magus of the Moon, mainly because you can always sacrifice it to Gut, which is useful. You can't sacrifice a Blood Moon to Gut, so it's just better that way. And I have the Cavern, so some decks will just fold to the turn 1 uncounterable Magus. And then I run a single copy of Squee, rounding out the Thread base. This is a fine card. It's a bit annoying that I have so many Legends in the deck. I have these 4, I believe. Yeah, so card like Caracas can be annoying, but in general, I think it's worth it playing this quote-unquote Delve card. So it's like poor man's Rebel Master, but that's fine. It can come back. To round out the deck, I have a single copy of Trinisphere, a single copy of Fury, which is mainly the flex slots of the deck, so I basically just hope to draw the one that's going to be best in the scenario. A couple of One Rings for some extra draw power. I'm curious to see if I have too much life loss in the deck between 6 double-faced lands that potentially deal me 3 damage on top of One Ring. So let's say I play against a deck that can kind of race me. I take a lot of damage, Ancient Tomb. Let's see about that. Sideboard is a bit all over the place. I just wanted, some different cards that could play a factor. 4 ley lines for, serious graveyard shenanigans, Trap against fast combo, Fury against small critters. Fiery Confluence is pretty versatile, I would say, between killing a bunch of artifacts, killing the opponent, and sweeping the board. 7th Moon effect for when that's awesome. A couple of blasts for blue. We'll have to worry about, Chalice of the Void and these cards interacting poorly. A single copy of Dead Gone. I think the card is just awesome. Kills a small creature, bounces a big creature. Yeah, why not? Then I have some weird graveyard hate here. Canoptech Scarab Swarm. So 4 mana flying. When it enters rather, exile target player's graveyard. For each artifact or land exiled this way, create a 1/1. So basically, if I just exile my control opponent's graveyard of, 4 fetch lands, then I get 4 1/1 flyers, and that's kind of tough to deal with. So yeah, cool card. Trinisphere for fast combo. I'll most likely only bring it in on the play. Unlicensed Hearse can also be good against Delver. It's good against any deck that uses the graveyard, but it's also good against, Uro, Delver type decks. And then a single copy of Disruptor Flute to round it out. Some decks, it's just going to be very sad if I can tax their key card. It's kind of a needle and a, Mana League Meddling Mage at the same time. This card is awesome. I should probably play more copies, but I chose to go with the one-off sideboard, so yeah, I'm pretty excited what Brian's going to bring here. If I were to guess right now, I would guess Brian is bringing an Eldrazi deck, a control deck, and some weird combo deck. But who knows? All right, that's going to do it for the 3 deck techs. I'm pretty excited to get to the game, so yeah, let's go. Okay, what's up, everyone? We're here for the first match. I'm playing against Bosh and Roll, who's the boss that I'll try and defeat today. I'm playing Blue-Black Reanimator, and I know my matchup is Sultai Beanstalk. Doesn't really matter, though. This hand is just a mulligan. 0 lands. Okay. 0 lands again. We have to throw that back. So Sultai Beanstalk should be something like, I don't know, Murktide, Murderous Cut, maybe a little bit of Uro. Let's see. I'm pretty excited for what kind of version Bosh is on. We made the agreement to share the archetype, the colors and stuff like that, but we have no idea about, the actual build. Oh, yeah. This is not ideal. There is a world where I bottom Wasteland, and I hope to find a reanimation at some point. That's like what my game plan is about. Put a Trax in the yard. You can also argue I'm supposed to put back Forest Days, use Thoughtseize to power through. I'm actually going to try that. Oh, this is really not ideal. Okay. I'll go with Thoughtseize, my opponent here. Okay. This is very annoying. I think I'll take Force of Will, even though value-wise, it's not ideal, but my plan, I only have one plan here. Brian wisely plays Misty. I'm actually going to go Entomb here. Put a Trax in the yard, draw Underground Sea. The question is if Brian is playing basics. I'm actually going to develop the Wasteland because I might want to double Wasteland on my next turn. So even though Brian knows about this, I still think it's optimal. Brian will resolve a Beanstalk here, but then I can hopefully put him down to 0 lands and buy some time that way. Misty's gone from Brian's hand. So the theory is, when you mulligan to 5, you kind of have to find a very, very distinct plan if you're trying to go all over the place and hedge your bets, chances are you're not going to get there. Brian also mulliganed to 6, though, so the gap wasn't that big. But my state of mind with the double mulligan is I'll try and be as aggressive as possible. I don't think I'm winning the long game here. Let's see what Brian's decide here against Wasteland. I don't think there's a way Brian plays around double Wasteland, so I'm basically banking on 2 things. First, that Brian does not play basics. Or, well, if he does, that he's not going to go for basics, because Wasteland is going to put him in a tough spot. Okay, that's bad news. Okay, here's Ponder. This is very cool play by Brian, because this is not his first rodeo. He might even have sniffed out the double Wasteland here, which is amazing if that's the case. And another fetch land to build. Wow, great play by Brian here. Brian is able to build towards Murktide here without being wastelanded. Great play. Okay, here's Psychic Frog. That's a good draw. Brian's hand is Murktide, double Beanstalk, Bayou, and 1 unknown. Psychic Frog was a good one here. I'm basically looking to draw either Reanimate or Animate Dead, and I'm in good shape. This could be Murktide Regent time, which is quite strong against Psychic Frog, but Brian loses some value with his own up the Beanstalks, but he gains value against my Frog, which is also a draw engine, so pretty interesting situation. Let's see if I can prey on Brian's mana base here in the mid game, but I don't think so, because with the fetch here, it looks like it's Murktide landing. Otherwise, Brian would have just, tapped these 2 lands, played Murktide. So I think I could be in trouble here. I have all my reanimation in the deck. That's good draws. I have oh, Brian actually decides last minute to go for the Beanstalk. Okay. I think I like this. Well, maybe not. I'm going to connect with the Frog here, and then I'm going to double Wasteland. Okay, I mean, we have a shot here. That was not a good draw. Let's see. Frog getting in there. I don't think I'm discarding. It's kind of hard when you're discarding to Frog and when you're not. Oopsie. It's a very nice card. So Brian could have a Force of Will. I don't think I'm supposed to wait around here, so let's go Animate Dead. Did Brian find a Force of Will with his pondering? He did not. Stifle! Ooh, beautiful. That's sick. Stifling so the Animate Dead just stays in play and does nothing? Incredible. I'll double waste here as planned, and if Brian has a blue source, I'm in trouble, but this is my game plan, so. Ooh, Ponder. Okay, so we're still in this game, unless Brian kills this Frog with a Murderous Cut. This is a cool game, like from my Molda 5. The double Wasteland plan could be good just a little bit later. Here's Wasteland Pass. Interesting. The good thing about it, I have a draw engine online here, so wow, another Animate Dead, let's go. So actually, I think what I'm supposed to do here is play around days, so Brian doesn't get any ideas on my attack step. So let's Animate Dead the Atraxa. Brian could have found Force of Will. That's not the case. Should I fetch prematurely here or not? Stifle is an annoying one. Funnily enough, Brian had the same idea as me. I also put a Stifle in one of my decks. Let's think about this. Should I sack my Delta here? Nah, I'm not going to do it. Maybe I should. Yeah, I don't think I mind too much getting wastelanded in this spot. It's tough. Maybe that was a mistake. Thinning is really small advantage, so let's see. Brazen, Ponder, Force, Animate Dead, Delta. Yeah, this is awesome. Because now I have Force backup, and I even have Brazen Borrower if Brian gets frisky with me here. So let's draw 5. Probably cast this Ponder right now. Nah, I'm fine. Get in there with Psychic Frog. Brazen is going to be awesome as Murktide Insurance. Brian could be considering wastelanding me here on attack step, which is something that I brought upon myself. I actually think that was a mistake. Because if I sit on uncracked fetch land, sure, I can get stifled. But that steals away mana from Brian, and I'm really the one stepping the gas here. I think all of these cards are useful. The Enemy Dead can be quite bad, but it's very good against Murderous Cut later. Entomb is obviously crazy good here. I think I'm just supposed to pass. Kind of force Brian to wasteland me. So I say all of that to say this. If Brian wastelands me here out of this land, I can get dazed all of a sudden. And I couldn't get dazed if I sit on uncracked fetch. So that's why I think it was a mistake. Like thinning 2% of my deck at that point. It's not that strong. This is a brainstorm. So Brian has up the Beanstalk, Murktide Regent. I could see myself going Entomb here. I'll actually just put it, Archon in the yard right now. And then Brian can go ahead with the brainstorm. Yeah, that was just too much. The double wasteland in the mid game. So Brian basically played around wasteland momentarily, but it was still hugely effective later, which was why I was able to take that game down. Okay, so up the Beanstalk. So a little bit of my sideboarding theory pays off here, and I actually think these Harbingers are going to be awesome against him. I would guess Brian's only basic land is that one island we saw. I think those cards could be cool and I guess maybe go for the throat. What kind of graveyard hate will Brian be bringing to class here? I always found Sultai Beanstalk to be kind of a weird deck because it's not really a blue control deck that's gonna, crush in the later stages of the game. Basically, I think the deck needs the leyline binding to be a good beanstalk deck. Basically, I think that's like easiest way to say it from my perspective. How does the world look if I go -6 combo cards? I still want all of these Enemy Dead. I mean, they are good with Troll. They are decent with Frog without being great. They can work on Bosh's side of the table. What if I keep, like, this, maybe? Trimming, Enemy Dead. Force of Will is not great. Maybe I can just get rid of all Force of Wills and play the full package. How does that sound? So I trim 1 Entomb, 1 Enemy Dead. I don't hate it. See, I'm on the draw here, so maybe I can go keep all the Enemy Deads, cut a Daze. Maybe. Yeah, it's tough. I didn't spend a lot of time on the sideboard mapping, but the theory is basically that if we add cards like Bowmaster's Harbinger and Heart Removal, then all of a sudden we just become harder to play against, stacked up with the Frog already in the deck. Triple Wasteland. Ugh. Triple Wasteland, Psychic Frog. I'm gonna keep this, but I kind of hope Bosh goes like dual land Ponder. Yeah, this is a nightmare. And I'm up against Mr. Stifle. So maybe Bosh is playing Null Drifter, actually. That would make sense with Stifle. It makes sense with Beanstalk. Bosh is a bad boy. Carpet. That card is awesome. And it makes my hand look like complete jank. Yeah, Carpet is just incredible card. I assume Bosh also has that card in his next deck. I guess we'll just get to what that is. I only know the archetype. I'm just trying to think out loud here. Yeah, I wish I played the Blood Moon, my Blood Moon deck against this deck. Let's see what this is. Another Carpet. Ponder to just churn away Sculpt. The problem here is I'm not really... Like, Wasteland doesn't do anything. Just so bad. Here's a Thoughtseize. Now Brian's gonna see that the Carpet of Flowers was amazing against my hand. Psychic Frog hits the bin. And now what? I think I'm just supposed to try and Wasteland. My opponent still gets 1 mana. It's terrible. But the problem is the dynamic with Stifle in Bosch's deck makes it so that I can't just go, you know, fetch land, pass. Now Brian also knows about my Murktides, which may or may not... Oh, maybe... Oh, did I find Murktide on my Attraction Trigger game 1? I actually forgot. Up the Beanstalk, yeah. This game is going exactly like Bosh wanted to go. Okay. So let's see. My opponent knows about this. So I'll go Swamp Psychic Frog. The problem is not even for like luring a Force Will out of Bosh here will grind him out of the game. Because of Beanstalk. Murktide is absurdly good from his side of the table. Murderous Cut is absurdly good. Yeah, I'm not high about on this game because my Wastelands just got smoked. Let's see. Mana from Carpet. Bosh gets 1 mana. Here's a Murderous Cut. Draw a card. Yeah. Oh, Sheldred's Edict. Okay, sure. Sheldred's Edict is acceptable. And now I can play 3/3 Murktide, but that kind of sucks. So let's not do that. Yeah, let's brainstorm. There's enemy dead, and there's my... Well, it's not really a game plan against Carpet, I just realized. Can I afford to play around Stifle here? I think these 2 cards are simply just too bad. I'm actually gonna allow Bosh to Stifle me here. He did not have the Stifle, then I'm gonna animate dead a Frog, which is fine. It's not amazing, but it's fine. Mainly because the counters stay on the Frog, so while Animate Dead gives Frog -1 power, if I discard any card, all of a sudden the Frog is on, so that makes it a potent threat. If Brian's holding removal, maybe he can get me to, you know, invest a card. Also worth noting, I developed my second island there, which Carpet of Flowers is very happy to see. Bosh basically has infinite mana here. Okay, here maybe this is double Bowmasters. Double Bowmasters is extremely annoying. Okay, it's not double Bowmasters. Okay. But maybe I connect here. Let's see. I think I just discard that Sewers if I connect here. Bosh with the jump block-ish. If Bosh has removal here, they just ate another card. This looks like a Murderous Cut to me. Murderous Cut on the Frog. What do I want to do? So the good thing about Harbinger... No, it's not good. I don't want to show Bosh Harbinger. I might win the next game with Harbinger, so... Okay, that gets Cut. I think I just play Merc here. Yeah, let's play Murktide. Del 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pass 4/4. Get forced. Yeah, Bosh is cruising here. Cantripped on stock. Cantripped on cut. Cantripped on force. Carpet is doing its thing. The thing about Carpet is, I mean, if Bosh is not drawing any more lands than these two, then the carpets are insane. But if Bosh is also drawing lands, then all of a sudden the infinite mana is not going to do anything if I have, more cards, right? So that's basically all you can hope for. Once Carpet hits the battlefield, you know you're not gonna, win the mana war, so you want to win the actual card war. So that means brainstorming away your wasteland, shuffling away like I did, and stuff like that, because those cards are very strong. Let's see what Bosh can follow up with here. I'm basically just waiting for my sentence here. Okay, here's Psychic Frog. Makes a lot of sense that you would play that. Here's Nile's Spellbomb. So we get a little bit of a sneak peek into what Brian is trying to do. The cool thing is about this game, if I'm going to say something positive about getting smoked, is that Brian, from Brian's point of view, it looks like I'm on plan B and not really heavy on the graveyard. So that's a little positive. Oh yeah, this is horrible. So what can I do here? I can bounce my opponent's Psychic Frog. Guess I should do that. I can play the fetch kind of freely, because it doesn't add to my island count right now. But once you get into this spot and you're like grasping for air, bouncing to buy a turn, but you don't really know what you're buying a turn towards, that's kind of the problem. Because if I could tell you, yeah, sure, then I just draw this sequence of cards and I'll be fine. But that's not really the case in a game like this. The cool thing about Nile Spellbomb, by the way, ooh, here's another Bowmaster. The cool thing about Nile Spellbomb is it's a card that can target any graveyard. Soul Guide Lantern cannot, which can be relevant because then I can just reanimate my opponent's stuff sometimes. Also, a cool thing is Psychic Frog is actually helping Brian manage his own graveyard here in case I actually wanted to reanimate something out of that graveyard. There's Entomb. I don't want to show Brian that, so let's go to game 3 here. We just got destroyed here, not really too much of a contest. Okay, so it looks like with Psychic Frog and Bowmasters in the mix, I would like these pushes. So let's see, can we actually bring out the whole package here? Let's see, if we bring out all of those, I still want the days. I mean, Force of Will is never terrible. I can cut like one enemy dead for 2 forces. I think I like that. And then I'm trying to, get my opponent with Harbinger. Carpet is very, very annoying. I could see myself like cut one, maybe not. Maybe Wasteland Days is an actual, plan I can count on when I'm on the play. Let's try it. All right, game 3 here. Pretty exciting to see a card like a deck like Sultai Beanstalk. It's just something that, I mean, sure you can run it, but you just didn't give yourself the best chance to win. So with Grief powering up the Demir reanimator deck. So as I said a few times, Brian and I are trying to live in the future where Grief is banned and Blue-Black Reanimator is at this power level, basically. Okay, so I can actually go 1-2 punch Thoughtseize into Frog with Days backup. I like that a lot. What I will say is I play against Stifle, so I want to crack my fetch, where, let's say I'm not playing against Stifle, then I can hang on to the fetch. But that's how the cookie crumbles against a bad boy like Bosh and Roll. Let's Thoughtseize. Maybe we get rid of a carpet. Maybe we get rid of a removal. Okay, so this is kind of annoying. Brian has a little bit of everything here. I think I'm supposed to take Thoughtseize. Then I think I'm supposed to make Brian respect Days. Yeah, it's pretty annoying, but that's how it has to be done. Brian also has a Psychic Frog of his own. The cool thing about Fatal Push is it doesn't interact with Troll, so it looks like if I can present a Troll, it should be good. Here's Ponder. Then let's see how this works out. I play Frog, Brian on taps, plays second land, push the Frog. I think that's okay. Double Days. Okay, I might actually protect it with Double Days. Here's Psychic Frog, pass. Also, we didn't confirm nor deny that Bosh is playing Days himself. I'm actually, I'm gonna Double Days here. It's not the best feeling in the world, but I think it's worth doing. Ponder gone, Fetch gone, Sea gone, Push gone. Okay. Double Dazing Fatal Push here. Drawing an extra card. Yeah, why not? Drawing some free counters. I can just win the game, so let's see if we manage. Reanimate would be an incredible draw here. I'm not gonna pump my Frog because I might, I might want the third land from the Troll at some point. Here's Go for the Throat, which is a nice one. Land, Ponder second main. Some solid magic cards here. Very hard to pass up. Let's see. What's the worst card here? Bosh will most likely go. I mean, if Bosh just goes, plays his own Frog, I'll be pretty happy. These cards are solid. Bowmasters against Bosh's potential Bowmasters. Maybe the Ponder is the slowest one of these, so I can just go like this. What if I get Thoughtseize? Which card do I want Bosh to take? Maybe like this? Pass. Bosh could also have Veil of Summer in that deck. It's definitely something I should think about. I'm trying to set up a situation where Bosh is on the back foot, and Bosh goes Frog, I kill Frog, attack, draw an extra card, and every one of those exchanges are good for me. Like the Double Days attack with Frog, that's like maybe a small gain for me, but I need to get one more hit in to have a good situation. It looks like Bosh is not willing to simply cast Psychic Frog and pass the turn. Interesting. Bosh is holding up black here, mainly because he's digging for Fatal Push, worst case Thoughtseize, compared to hitting something like Carpet of Flowers, which is probably a judgment call at the end of the day. I could definitely see why you should try and high roll here and go for green. I guess Bosh can still cycle for green and play it. And playing into third days is not something you should worry too much about. I mean, if my opponent has 3 days and they're all good, that's just whatever, right? Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens here. I feel like this turn specifically is going to be very important for the game. Right now, I don't know if I'm supposed to feel confident or not. I'm just going to quickly write down here that my top card is Brazen, and underneath that I have a Ponder. Okay, so Bosh did not find a better thing to do, but here's a Frog. A Frog that I will promptly kill, or try to at least. Can't draw. Feel like Go for the Throat is good here, mainly because Brazen is going to be good against Murktide, and actually killing the Frog for good here would be nice. There's also the argument I should just attack here and say, are you willing to trade off? Maybe that's not the right logic. But there's no way Bosh is blocking here. I have 6 cards, he has 4. And so I can basically just, if Bosh decides to go all in, I can discard all of these. What happens if I attack here, I draw an extra card, and I deploy my own Frog? Then what? Okay, I'll try it. Just me having more cards here just seems like great situation for me in general. Draw an extra card. Don't want to grow it right now. Deploying second Psychic Frog could be pretty darn awesome. I drew the Ponder I knew about. Roll is my next land. Question is if that Daze is still hiding there. I don't know. Bosh being ahead on mana here thanks to the double Daze, but I've gotten in 2 hits with Psychic Frog. So I think we're pretty even when it comes to that. Here's a Ponder. I know about Lore and Reveal still in Bosh's hand. This is kind of a cool game because this is like mid-range meets mid-range. The problem is my way to go over the top has been sideboarded out. By the way, Bosh keeps the 3 cards. And Bosh's way to go over the top is still in the deck. But that is kind of a bad tempo play at this point. I'm talking about up the beanstalk here. So a card like Carpet of Flowers would be awesome for Bosh, because then all of a sudden has more mana to do stuff. Here's Second Frog. This is awesome. This is awesome. Second Frog pass. So Bosh is trying to stabilize. Makes a ton of sense. Here's Island, which is actually not a bad draw. So what I could do here is go... If I go Island, play around Daze, go for the Throat, one of those bad boys. Do I get Force of Will? Probably. And what if I get Force of Will? Then my opponent has 2 cards in hand and I have 3. Great situation here. I can't say I've had the pleasure of quad frog showdown before. What happens if I just attack? I have more cards. So my opponent could block 1 on each. But then Bosh is going to run out of cards. I feel like Bosh hasn't drawn a lot of removal here. I don't think it makes any sense for Bosh to block. Maybe some double block? I don't know. Bosh is taking the damage here. I'm just going to draw 2 cards. Pretty happy with that. Draw. Something, a good 1-mana play would be awesome here. Harbinger, you say? Is that a card I want to have in play? Then if I resolve that card, Bosh is playing mono blue. I should probably go for that. Fetch Swamp. Try and force Bosh to play mono blue. If he doesn't force a will. So now Bosh needs to dismember the Harbinger or have... I guess this is just Murktide Regent. I'm going to take the damage here from the frogs. Bosh just turned to draw 2 cards. What an awesome game. Maybe there's a Brazen Borrower in that deck, but that's still like annoying tempo for Bosh. I have my black mana secured. I have some hard removal. I have bounce. If I go land, I have bounce and go for the throat on the same turn, which is very, very good at this point. I can delete these. That was mainly to remember my order. So here comes the shuffle effect. The target for Lore and Reveal is kind of inconsequential. Bosh still needs to kill the Harbinger, or I don't suspect he's going anywhere. Here's a Tropical. No Murktide. Okay. No Murktide. That's important. Here's Thoughtseize, which is something I highly consider going for. No Murktide yet from the side of Bosh. Feel like I'm just winning the race here if I stay with my plan. Let's try and attack. Get in for 4. Draw a couple of cards. Fatal Push is very good. Reanimate, I'm not too sure about because of the life situation. The good thing about this is I'm playing around days now with push and bounce. So if I go land, put troll into the frog maybe, or reanimate. Maybe it's reanimate. Okay, I'll try and pump here. I think that's okay. And I'm trying to pass the turn. Let's fatal push a frog. Let's bounce a frog. Bosh needs to force a will here at a bad time, basically, for him. I don't want to let Bosh play the 5th land out, so hardcast force a will is all of a sudden a card. Here comes Force of Will. Pretty annoying, but I think I'll be fine. Force Pitch Brainstorm. That works. So now I will brazen a frog. Oh, nice Flusterstorm. Okay. So those 2 guys stay in play. I'm not going to pay. I'm going to use that mana to cycle Troll, I think. So right now, let's count damage. I have 5. Yeah, I have lethal, so Bosh needs to impact the board here or stay back with at least 1 Psychic Frog. What a cool game. Yeah. Attacking with 1 is fine. Bosh now has 5 cards in hand, desperately looking for what I would guess is Murktide Regent. Let's see. Should I cycle Troll? I probably should. I could go for Sewers, but let's see. I can play Ponder and 1 black card. Okay, so I should go for Sewers. I guess it's the same. It enters untapped anyway and doesn't have any effect. Ooh, nice draw. Draw another Brazen. So what I should do here is just bounce. Bounce the frog, hang on to the hard removal. Yeah, that's gonna do it. Okay. Wow. Pretty sick game. Harbinger got Bosh game 3. Game 2, it was a problematic, but I was able to at least conceal information and, take down match 1. All right. Let's see what's up next. All right. Match 2 is upon us. I'm playing my Demir midrange deck against Bosh's Bant Nadu deck, which is some kind of Zenith deck. Yeah, only 60 cards, so no Yorian shenanigans. This hand is decent. I might get Bosh with the Stifle. And have a Daze, have another Goyf. This should be cool. Oh, Bosh is starting on Mana Dork here, which is quite strong. Oh, Ponder. Okay, that's good for me. I'm actually thinking about Wastelanding right away. Maybe that's too weak. Wastelanding here. Here's another Wasteland. Then I feel like I should just do it. Let's see what Bosh is working with. The Fairy. Let's start some kind of plan here. This is a good example of play draw. Imagine I go turn 1 Nether Goyf. Bosh goes Ponder. I go Wasteland, hold up Stifle. Let's see if we get a Surveil land here, or like Bosh wants to go for Surveil land. He doesn't. Yeah, I don't know about this cat and mouse game with the Stifle. Let's see. Underground Sea is a good draw. The problem with Underground Sea now is if I go Nethergoyf, then it's just too obvious I'm holding up this Stifle, isn't it? Maybe that's okay. Okay, I'll try. I mean, if I get my 1-mana Stone Rain in with Stifle, I'll be incredibly happy. I don't know. Bosh should be like, nah, he wouldn't. He wouldn't play Stifle. But I try and return the favor here. 1-mana Stone Rain, very annoying card to face. Hopefully this Wasteland is good. I'm also slowly but surely building towards Good Murky. Yeah, pretty good exchanges here for me. Dazing Zeniths, wasting lands, pondering. Ooh, even find a force. So let's ponder, even put the Goyf. These are cards. Okay, so I like these because pitching force to force is probably how I win this game. Wasteland Caracas. Attack for 4 with the Nethergoyf. Then next turn I play Murktide Regent. Murktide Regent and Nethergoyf aren't, the best combo. Bosh, you're missing on lands. Let's see if I can minimize the amount of cards for the Nethergoyf. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess I'll leave the artifact. Yeah, this is quite terrible, actually, but I guess here we go. Murktide closes the game quickly, so it is, it's a good card to play out. My top card is a blue card, so I'm actually thinking about just holding up double Force of Will. Let's see if Bosh can do anything here. Out of a deck like that, with green, blue. So the thing is, Green Sun Zenith would be incredibly annoying, mainly because it can get Delighted Halfling, which can then produce uncounterable legend. That being said, I think I'm okay getting in for 7, playing out a Bowmaster, having double force. That's going to be next to impossible to beat. Bosh needs to develop a mana creature here. Okay, he doesn't. Here's the Ponder. I feel like the way to play here is go Bowmasters now. If it resolves, awesome. If it doesn't, it hits the yard and powers the Goyf. I think it's a good time to play it out. Opponent's at 2 life here, and I have double Force of Will. My opponent can't draw cards. Yeah, pretty clinical game 1 here. And Tuco. I'll just Force of Will pitch Ponder here to show as little as possible. All right, we go to sideboarding here. I'm playing against a Bant Nadu, and that was just too easy, right? Bant Nadu Zenith stuff. I don't have that many good cards. A couple of removal spells, maybe. I kind of feel like if my opponent gets going, I can't really win. My counters aren't very good. My creatures are good. My removal are good. My removal spells are also good. This Needle good? It's mainly, I don't think that Brian is necessarily playing playing Shuko. That's the main thing. Maybe just 3 days on the draw for these 3. These might do something. I don't think Harbinger is good against the Mana Dork deck. I have a bunch of 1-mana removal already. A couple of Edicts at Go for the Throat. Grayson. I guess I'll try this. My sideboard isn't the best against the deck like that. And when I'm on the play, I want the dazes. Maybe I just remove the forces then. Let's see. Let's see if we get there. I mean, this hand is fine. We can ponder into our second land and kind of play from there. Let's see if this is Zenith or Halfling opening. I guess it can be Ponder like last game. Here's Savannah. Okay. Interesting. Unclear if there's any breakfast shenanigans going on in that deck. Let's see. Casting Ponder. These cards are good. If I'm gonna get 2 of them, I should just get the 2 lands. It's also kind of funny we got each other with the Stifle. That's super awesome. Nomad on Core. So that card is quite bad if it's not for Nadu. So here's another Encore. Okay. Here's a fetch. Is this a third one? That would be funny. Okay. So now Bosh is starting to respect the good old Stifle. So let's see. I don't think I can just stay back and do nothing. Am I scared about Wasteland out of that deck, or am I just going double Underground Sea? There's something to be said about when I have 3 mana, I might want to go, cantrip Murktide on the same turn. So I might as well get Underground Sea now. I'll try and deploy a Frog, see what happens. I'm hoping, it just gets plowed and we play on. My opponent goes Nadu with backup here. I'm in trouble. I couldn't do anything about that. If that backup card is Daze, I could have done something, but I don't think not playing Psychic Frog is a winning line long term. What am I pitching here if my opponent goes... Okay. I think this is okay. I have another one. Nado is the real threat. I'm not taking any meaningful damage here. There's Tameo. The question is Tameo my force fodder? I think it is. Let's play another frog. Then if I force a Nadu, I'm kind of building my graveyard up for the Murktide. Ponder is fine. Interesting tap here. Tapping the Bosh's only green. So that makes me think either has another land or does not need green. Okay, that card is good. So this is a very good way for Bosh to ace check me for 1 and really tempt me to force a will. That's the second one. Let's, I guess, fetch sewers. What do we have here? We have a fatal push. Is that a good card? If I put that to the yard, I can play Murktide. It's probably better. Yeah, let's put that to the yard. It was actually pretty close decision. Delta is a good draw. Let's go Brainstorm and then build a bigger Murky. Murktide, Bowmasters is quite awesome. The opponent missed land drop. I think we've seen this before, that it's quite good for me. So I can actually put... Oh, wow. This is awesome. I can wasteland my opponent's hedge mace, so I don't even have to worry about days, and I get rid of my opponent's only blue mana. I think this Tameo is my force of will fodder, so what if I put this card on top? No, maybe the Ponder. I can just play Ponder later or not play it. So let's go those 2. Wasteland. Murktide Regent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Big boy Murky. Can't get dazed. I have my force pitch ready. I draw a fetch land so I can double double spell if I need to. Yeah, this is not good news for Bosh. Let's see if this Murktide even cracks in. I have a Ponder on top of my deck. Might want to draw that. Let's see. I think this is a good Bowmaster. Mainly because Bosch's hand could be, you know, cantrips and stuff. Here's another Nomad. Yeah, that's not really gonna do it. Ponder. There's a Force of Will. Does that do anything? Looks like would rather shuffle one Force. Like Force of Will is not that great in that spot. Maybe just attack with Murky and Origami. Keeping Bowmasters in play is like it makes it so that my opponent can't draw blue source, cast a good brainstorm, turn their hand into gold. Now my opponent's down to Soul Caracas. Yeah, that's just... Yeah, this was kind of a... I just drew, you know, like a god here. Bosh didn't do much. I mean, come on now. 3 Nomads on core. That's not super competitive. I'm curious to see his full list afterwards because that match wasn't the most exciting. All right, let's see what we have up next. All right, here we are for match 3 of my boss battle against Bosh and Roll. I'm playing Monored Prison, and Bosh is on Boro's Initiative. So this is going to be a battle of the Ancient Tomb decks. For the Eagle Eye, Bosh put me on the play here because we decided to alter play draw, and as a bonus, we will have 2 matches of this particular matchup. Mainly because of, you know, the variance of being on the play versus on the draw with Stompy decks. And yeah, that should be cool. So Bosh will be on the play for the next match, no matter the outcome. This hand is fine. I'll keep. I have a threat to play turn 2. I can play Fable into Gut. Fable and Gut interact incredibly well together, and then I have Fury to hopefully control the board a little bit. So pretty cool hand. I will say I'm not the best against turn 1 initiative creature. That could prove too powerful, but let's see. Anything other than that, I should be in a decent spot at least. Maybe, yeah, turn 1 initiative would be annoying, that's for sure. So going Great Furnace turn 1 here is not what Bosh expected, that's for sure. He just knows about that I'm playing Mono-Red Prison. He doesn't know anything about Gut or stuff like that. Here's a Pedal. Ooh, this is... Oh, baby, this is a good one. Turn 1 Seasoned Dungeoneer. So now I'll have to go Fury Pitch, Fable, play Fable. Yeah, maybe this will work out. Let's see. Depends on the opponent's follow-up, I should say. Fury, Pitch Fable. 4 damage to Dungeoneer. City of Traders. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. So now I have at least 1 excess land, if not 2. So my second chapter on Fable is going to be impactful. Let's see which way Bosh decides to go here. Let's see which basic. Searched up a mountain. So Bosh could have, you know, Mountain Fable. Really hope Bosh doesn't follow up with another initiative creature. Then things can get kind of iffy. But let's see. Gut is very, very good at, you know, fighting for the initiative. Scries 1 to the top. Am I supposed to be scared? Here's... Yeah, here's another initiative creature. Okay. Oh, fourth Yalingus. Beautiful. Okay. Sick. Let's see what Bosh decides to do here. So now both the monarchy and the initiative is going to be in play, which is exciting. Let me put it that way. Ortholingus. I forgot about that card outside of Cube. So let's see. Use that. Discard Mountain and Ancient Tomb. Draw some magic cards. Play Gut. And attack, sacrifice the treasure. Let's see if we can stack this correctly. So I put Gut on the stack. Get the treasure. Sacrifice the treasure. So now I get in there with Menace and Goblin Shaman, which is not bad. My opponent decides to trade off. I get the initiative and the monarchy. So I can search up a mountain that I don't have. This is me giving up that I only play one mountain. So let's see. Does it make sense to build these? I don't think so. I think what I'm supposed to do here is use the One Ring to kind of time walk my way. And then we're probably also going to see the flexibility of Great Furnace getting sacrificed to Gut. Thankfully, Bosh didn't have a Solitude there. Gut is just incredible at racing. Touch of the Spirit Realm. Okay. That is cool. Gut is out of here. Bosh might as well attack. Monarchy and initiative. Yeah, just like every casual player is like, oh, these effects are only for multiplayer and stuff like that. It's actually quite hilarious. My opponent could even follow up here with something. Wow, yeah, this game is awesome. This game is pretty darn sick. Blood Moon. Amazing. So I get in there with my menace creature. I then forge onto... I don't know. What should I forge onto? The other guy, maybe? Nah. Nah, maybe not. Let's see. Next turn I can make a copy of this skeleton, but maybe it's better. Yeah, that's not an easy one. Let's put the counters on reflection. Let's play the One Ring out. Let's draw a card. Not sure what that could be. Maybe now because I drew the Simian Spirit Guide, it's time to go Great Furnace Pass. I think that's okay. Here's Rabble Master, which is a decent first main phase play next turn. Then I can go Rabble Master and copy Rabble Master with Reflection. Yeah, I think that's gonna do it. Famous last words. Because Rabble Master, if I get to hit my opponent for even 1 damage, it's 1 down to 5, and then I can trap my opponent the rest of the way. So maybe that's gonna do it. It's pretty absurd if my draw manages to beat turn 1 Dungeoneer, turn 2 Iolingus. Really firing on all cylinders this match. The cool thing is here we're protected by the One Ring, which does help against when fighting for the initiative in the Undercity, or the Monarchy and the Undercity rather. Then I can go Cavern of Souls, Rabble Master, Pitch Spirit Guide, Copy Rabble Master, and then all of a sudden my opponent has his hands full. Looks like my opponent's on some Solitude shenanigans, I believe. My opponent gets the second white there. Okay. My opponent might live through this turn cycle. Only question is if I'm dead in the other direction. Oh, it looks like another... Oh, caves. Okay, so the opponent gets a skeleton. So now my opponent has 3 blockers. This demands 2. This... Yeah, I think my opponent needs Solitude here or they're dead. I lose a life here, not ideal. There's a petal named Goblin. Rebel Master. I think I prefer sacking a petal versus a Spirit Guide. Nah, maybe that's not the case here. Let's try and make another Rabble. Here's Solitude. Makes sense. Solitude getting pitched. Killing off the Rabble. Tough one. So now if I attack, my opponent has to double block, which is good for me. Except I only kill 1 creature if I do so. And then what does the opponent gets to the throne? This might be over. I don't have much to draw into, but I think I have to try it. Draw cards with the ring. Yeah, these cards are definitely not good. Let's play this out because of Archon. What happens if I just take the damage here? If my opponent attacks with everything, 2, 4, 9, 13, they get there. Maybe that's what I can do. I'll try pass here. I'm the Monarch. Draw another blank. There's some situation where if I get the turn, I'm winning. Let's see what the opponent can find here. Oof, this was a cool game. Very cool game. One of the best I've actually had, like Stompy versus Stompy. We should get a look in here. Archon versus Initiative creature. Dungeoneer versus Archon, basically. Interesting. Here's Archon. My opponent can never, take any damage. And I have potentially double menace creature coming here, so my opponent might need 4 blockers. I also have a card like Gut that I can one-ring into. My opponent needs 4 blockers. I guess they don't need 4 blockers. Let's see what this is about. Let's see what the opponent exiles from the top. Chrome Mox doesn't do anything. 4, 9, 13. I take 2 more. Yeah, I don't think blocking does anything for me. I feel like my opponent needs another Solitude to win this game. Last card. I don't like this. Oh, 4th Lingus. Here comes the blockers. Awesome. That is indeed 4 blockers. Oh, boy. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. So I go to 2 here from the ring. Did I just draw Broadside Bombardier? Oh my god. I totally forgot about that card, but obviously that's the card I need to win the game. So, Broadside Bombardier, attack and fling the ring to my opponent's face. That's 6 damage. Yeah, that's... I didn't even think about that, and that should have been the first thing on my mind. That I could just draw a Bombardier and it wins the game on the spot with the One Ring. Okay, so against Boris Initiative, I don't even know what to do here. Fury was awesome, obviously. The one-off Fury coming up clutch to make sure I have game. I mean, the chalices are terrible, especially on the draw. I might try and get lucky on the play. The actual Blood Moons are not good either. It's one of the most annoying things with this deck that you have so many 3-drops, or you have to scroll. You have to scroll a lot to get to the right ones. Okay, so let's see. I want these. Curse is not good. Loot might be good. Scarab Swarm, I mean, I don't think it's strong. Maybe I try and get lucky with Trap. This is an atrocious matchup to sideboard in. But I think because of Fury, any red card is, better than nothing. So you have all our creatures, all our lands here. I don't think I can do anything else. Is Hearse better than a dead Blood Moon? Blood Moon pitches to, it pitches to some stuff. Hearse doesn't do much of anything. I'm going to try this. All right. Sideboarding is not the cleanest when you haven't spent hours and hours building and perfecting the deck against the meta, and sometimes you just have holes against certain decks. Brian will be on the play here. Looks like we have a hand we can keep. It's not ideal with the Cavern. Brian on a mulligan. Yeah, I think if I can go turn 2 Rabble, turn 3 Bombardiers, that's just too good to pass up. But it's not ideal, that's for sure. I think Boris Initiative is base. I would say Boris Initiative is favored in this matchup. I'm not 100% sure, but it just seems like the fact that I have all those Blood Moons, and I feel like my opponent's turn 1 is more explosive than mine, basically. Brian's on a mold of 5 here, which is, just another look at the perfect hand. I guess mold of 4, now we start getting into tough scenario, where at least the nut draw is not available. What would my best draw be? That would just be Petal, Guide, or Chrome. I actually have 10 draws here to do despicable things turn 1. Then I go cheat out Rabble next turn, cast Bombardier, and just go to town. Let's see how Brian does this. I kind of feel like he has to go for some kind of hand that needs to draw mana source to explode turn 2, like high variance. Which just might be enough against this draw, who knows. Of course, when Brian mulls is 4, I'm content about my hand, but that could also be an argument for then I could have gone to 6 to try and do better. This hand is basically saying I'm not beating any super good hands, but I'm playing against an inconsistent deck per definition. So that's why my, slow and steady wins the race hand is playable. But I would just get destroyed by a hand like the one Brian had in the previous match, the previous game rather. All right, we're on. Let's see. Cavern of Souls, name human, pass the turn. I draw a Cavern of Souls. So I should name... Is there any world where... No, let's just name Goblin here. So, yeah, I tried to mix my lands a little bit in this deck. 3 caverns, but it didn't exactly work out here. I guess the shock is not that good to begin with. Here comes the good one. Okay. That is a very strong card. I feel like I should... Let's see. I feel like I should just Bombardier and get the initiative right back. Menace is quite the ability. Don't solitude me, bro. I don't get solituded. Fetch my mountain. Pass. Draw a third cavern. Not ideal. Can't recommend. So basically what I can do now is go... Oh, cave. That's going to be a good one next turn. But if Brian doesn't get rid of the Bombardier, that can just destroy him. So the cool thing is here that Brian might think about is, if he forges onto the Dungeoneer, it's 7 toughness. And that's not my favorite number. Now I will need a Spirit Guide, a Chrome, a... another Bombardier. Does that work? I don't think so. Let's see. Brian attacks me next turn for 6. That's down to 8. Then 2 here, and I get trapped. I can bounce Brian's dungeon guy. That's probably what I should do, right? I just realized. Bounce the Dungeoneer. I get trapped. Brian did search for plane, so Brian can play it again, but then I can kill it with the One Ring play that I talked about. Okay. I mean... Let's attack here and see if that works to begin with. I forge. Yeah, Brian is going to know what's up here. Question is if I'm going to let my opponent play a land. I don't think that's good, mainly because Brian can then maybe blink it with, you know, the 3-mana enchantment channel card. I can't remember the name of right now. So it's better to force Brian to pay 4 mana for that card, and then I kill it off. I do get trapped in this scenario, though. Brian kills off his own seated traders. Dungeoneer hits the board. I'm at 7. I can deal 10 damage to the face and trap, so I can actually deal 15. Was that a good draw? 1, 2, 3. Nope. Yeah, well, I can save life here, which I probably should. So let's see. Bombardier, opponent down to 12. Trap opponent down to 7. One Ring our opponent down to 1. How does my opponent win the game from 1 life in this spot? What happens if I attack with both Bombardiers? Get in for 6, trap... Is that lethal? Let's see. If I attack for 6 with Menace, my opponent's at 10. Trap my opponent down to 5, then fling one of them. That does lose to Fury. I know one of my opponent's cards is Caves. Do I believe the rest of my opponent's hand is Solitude plus white card? I don't believe that. Maybe I name Elemental with this one. Attack for 6, put Brian to 10, trap him to 5. Yeah, I mean, show me the Solitude. Or be dead. Looks like be dead. Trap down to 5. And the last 5 is there. Whew. Okay. We have some game here. We're definitely beating the boss today, which is quite awesome for a change. So that does it for the first of the 2 Mono-Red versus Initiative matchups. The next matchup, Brian will be on the play, and that will conclude the series. And then at the end, Brian and I will talk about what transpired. So don't go anywhere. Okay, match 4. This is the same matchup, Monored versus Boris Initiative. I'm playing against Brian Koval, aka Bosh and Roll, and we're trying to look into the future of Legacy once Blue-Black has been nerfed with mainly the Band of Grief, I would say. We have a cool hand here with, turn 1 Bombardier, Fury Pitch can get rid of a creature, and or Dome for 7, which is amazing. So let's keep this hand. Doming for 7 with Bombardier's activated ability. A card like Archon would throw a wrench in that plan. Let's see what this is. 1, 2 mana, 3 mana. Good old Initiative. Can you do it? Fable turn 1. Okay. I have quite the explosive turn here. I'm quite happy to go turn 1, Bombardier, attack, Fury's second main phase, kill the Goblin, Dome, Bosh for 7. I think that's good enough. Chrome Mox wasn't exactly the best draw. Get in for Menace. Four to the Shaman, 7 to the Dome. Actually, I should have played out this Chrome Mox naked. I feel like... I don't know. It's like, if Bosh has a terrible hand and I get disrupted by Chalice, that would just be so bad. Also, there's something with Archon that makes this card worse. Let's see. Here's a Dungeoneer. Dungeoneer is a good one. Bosh doesn't have much of a choice here. I will take the initiative, though. Let's see if Bosh has time to get to, like, a copy first. Here's a Chalice of the Void that I'm not shy to throw at my opponent's face. So let's once again reveal that we only play one mountain. Yeah, I should play this card out. I think it's okay. So let's see. The life totals are a bit awkward here because my opponent takes back the initiative. The next turn, my opponent can copy Dungeoneer. I think I'm losing this race unless I draw something. But then again, any 3-drop creature wins the game here, so I guess if Bosh doesn't present a blocker. Right now, I can also kill Reflection with the Chrome Mox. So it's not that bad. I don't know. Let's see. Kind of depends on Bosch's follow-up here. Bosch and Roll moves into Forge. That sounds cool. Good old 6/7, getting ready to attack next time. And here's another Fable. That is not lethal because my opponent has blocker. So what I do here is I attack with 4 blocks, kill. I get in for 2. This one grows. And I kill my own land to go Spirit Guide. I have the Great Furnace. My opponent has how much damage here? 8 plus 5 from the Forge. That's 13. Potentially 1 from the Explorer. 14. How did the opponent find the last 2 damage? Probably something to do with 4th Eolingas. If I don't block, I have lethal without attacking next turn, or without connecting, rather. Because this is a 5 damage card. When it discards a couple of mana sources. The thing is, my opponent has 2 blockers, and I only have Great Furnace. My opponent might not even be able to attack here. Let's see. Because if I connect with anything, I win the game because I move into trap, and that's the last 5 no matter what. If my opponent attacks with Dungeoneer, I can't block that card anyway, so it doesn't really matter. There's a Chalice of the Void getting milled. I take 7. I get trapped down to 4. How does my opponent find the last 4 damage? It's been a while since I've played against Initiative. I think the last time I played against it... Oh, maybe that's not it. But it's like almost half a year ago. I played against it at Eternal Weekend Prague, but that's like 9 months ago soon. Or 8 months at least. Alright, let's see it. Let's see it, opponent. Okay, so this is Dungeoneer drawing a card. But it looks like my opponent's just dead to Bombardier, shooting the opponent for 5. My opponent needs Solitude Pitch here to win. And that's not Solitude Pitch. Alright, we're really running the tables here. So let's see, what did I do before? Disruptor, that card, that card, that card, that card, that card. Let's see Mindbreak Trap. Let's see Mindbreak Trap work. That would be quite epic. And then I bought out 2 moons, keep 1 moon because of the color. Yeah. Let's submit this once more. The all over the place sideboarding is really not amazing, but I guess we have the like good cards against the field, and maybe the Ancient Tomb Mirror needs to be worked on a little bit. Yeah, this is not really a hand. A land that kills itself and no mana to, you know, get into the game unscathed. What do we have here? We have, if I put Ancient Tomb away, we have turn 1 Magus. This is terrible as well. This hand is playable against an opposing hand of Land Go that's leaning on Soul Land to get into the game. I'm willing to take that risk. I don't like mulliganing to 5. I'll leave that to Bosh. So this is exactly the type of hand that, you know, this hand is not just stone dead against. So let's see. Play that. Play that. Play Magus. My absolute worst 3-drop, but it just might disrupt my opponent here because they're leaning on Ancient Tomb, Cedia Trader, stuff like that. That's the hope, at least. That the opponent hoped to go to 3 or 4 mana this turn, but they can't. Let's see if I predicted the future or not. My opponent has anything meaningful here, I'm most likely dead. But at least with this hand, I can draw some stuff off the top. Is this Archon? Or is this Spirit Guide 4-drop? Okay, so that's cool. Well played here. So either this is some flashy stuff that I didn't think about. This could be just Bosh holding a plow, to be honest. But it's also playing a little bit around Chalice, which I do like. Let's attack first here before we commit our land drop. So now that I drew Fury, I want to hang on to my actual red card here. So let's pass. I might get plowed end of turn here. That's not the end of the world. Mag is gone. And now... Ooh, I actually made my wrong land drop there because this cavern is not... It's just a colorless land now. It's not a red source. Ooh, that could actually cost me. Just imagine I draw, like, Rabble Master. That's the difference between winning and losing. If I go Fury, Pitch, Smashing, kill this card, Rabble Master, gain the initiative. Yeah, that was terrible. So, because Cavern is not a red source, if I develop it pre Magus getting destroyed, that was a bad play. Here's another Magus that I... and it's kind of the same thing, right? I could have developed a creature, but now I can't. So... Oof. Take a ton of damage. One ring. Draw. So this card is providing the opponent value. I don't think I can live with that. I think I exile the Magus here. Yeah, I think it's too much value. But I don't like it. So let's say I played this correctly. I could have gone kill that, develop Magus instead of One Ring. I think that's better because then I kind of put pressure on my opponent to muster a creature. Also, I could have timed the One Ring better with the trap. Let's say my opponent goes Forge, then I can guard against the trap. So yeah, I don't think I didn't maneuver this game very well. The opponent goes that direction, so I think that's good for me. Looks like my opponent does not have a follow-up necessarily. They do like one of the cards, though. Here's a follow-up. Fable counts. And this card does not kill the Fable. Lots of bad stuff going on here. There's a Chrome Mox. Let's draw 2. Rabble Master is good if it wasn't for the fact that I played poorly this game. So this is another example where Cavern Goblins, Cavern Human would have done a difference. Let's see if I have any way out of this. Maybe I'm supposed to develop Rabble Master here. Wait a minute. This doesn't work, right? Unknown creature spell. I don't think that works. And if it works, it's a bug, so I'm not going to go for it. Holding this card shouldn't do anything. So attacking with the 1/1, it gets eaten. Now my opponent can move into a... not the most impressive room here, getting a mana, but who knows? It just might be enough to, you know, cast Solitude and put me to bed. Yeah, bad timing here with the One Ring. I was protecting against nothing that turn, and now I actually don't want to get hit. The only thing positive is if my opponent kind of fizzles, I have this removal spell. Okay, I guess that's not the case. Getting hit here down to 11. Ring puts me to 9. I don't like this. Too many Ancient Tombs. Too many bad plays. Naked Cavern. Okay. I think I'm supposed to draw before my attack here because I could draw something like your boy. Let's see. Wow, lots of good cards here. So now I can deploy Gut and Bombardiers. I think that's strong. Goblin. Nice. Is there any way that I should go Magus of the Moon first. Does that save me anything? I don't think it's... Nah. Wait a minute. Can I do anything cool here? No, my opponent can do something at the beginning of combat, so I should just play my 2 guys. Bombardier and Gut. So now I get a creature from Rabble. I have 2 ways to get rid of the One Ring. My opponent will need two ways to kill a creature. Here's Solitude. Solitude works. My opponent will probably kill Bombardier. Yeah. Yeah. And then this is still coming to bite me. I could have shocked. So let's see. I guess I just attack with that. It gets eaten, which is very bad. Maybe I also attack with this. Get a skeleton in there. I chum block. Yeah. Not ideal. So let's put God on the stack first. I think that matters. Sacrifice the One Ring. This would have been beautiful if I could unload the Dead Gone here. Good block from the opponent. Oh, wait. I actually get to search of a mountain here. But I think I already... No, I don't think I played a land. I did play a land. Played this, probably. Okay. Yeah, this is just a good example of how a small mistake, misstep, whatever you want to call it, can kind of snowball. I feel like Gut should block that card. Opponent gains the initiative, gets a skeleton. Tricky game. Very tricky game. The opponent has follow-up here. That could be all she wrote. No follow-up. Here's a Rabble Master. So let's see. Can I do anything cool here? What I can do is I can go Magus. Yeah, this is a cool play. So I can go Magus first. Play Rabble Master. Trying to think about what to do here. I feel like this is okay. I should attack with my team. Hold up. The shock. Big Rabble coming in here. Trying to get in for 10. That block makes a lot of sense. I get in for 9. I can now forge onto something. What should that be? What should that be? Could be this card. This makes almost anything lethal next turn. Counters onto that. Okay, I'll try. The point is, I'm now at the Forge, which means next up is the Trap, and 8 is a good life total for getting in for 3, so I'm gonna try this out. I don't know if it works, though. What if the opponent attacks with everything? Then I can block and dead a creature. Yeah, this is a cool game. If my opponent has 40 Alingas, I'm dead. If my opponent has... I don't know. Also, my opponent will know about Dead Gone being in the list. Did see it last game. So there's a lot of small mind games going on here. Really clutch games. I really love these Stompy games. They've been high-paced. Opponent tries to make a copy. I say no. Very clutch removal. Let's see what the opponent has. That's going to change anything here. I feel like I have infinite dudes here. 4 mana. Here comes the opponent's last shot in the chamber. They move into the dungeon here, and they hit another initiative creature. But I think I have too much here. I think I'm winning the game. Let's see. Yeah, I just have too much here. My opponent can't kill me. Menace creature, lethal, lethal, lethal. Between getting in for at least 3 plus the trap that's next up. Here's a big boy. My opponent could have plow in hand, I guess. And survive at 1. My opponent had no. Because yeah, plow this. Block 3, take 2. If my opponent has plow in hand, we have a game. That's funny. I don't... No, that's not true, because I'm making tokens. Let's see what happens. Rabble Masters, and all the shebang gets in there. And that's gonna do it. Wow, that was a beating. I just drew like a champ from start to finish. Maybe the fact that I have like Menace on Gut and Bombardier makes this matchup good, because even though my opponent goes initiative first, I just might race them back. Pretty cool. I'm interested to see what Bosh has to say about the set we just played, the decks he chose, etc. So that's going to be the next piece on this video. I'll get on a call with Bosh, and yeah, you guys get to listen in. All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm here with Bosh and Roll, and we just had a set of 4 legacy matches with 3 different decks living in the post-grief world. So let's get the elephant out of the room first here, Brian. No grief. We kind of tried and take a trip to the future here. How do you like the look of the future? Is the grass greener on the other side?
Well, you did register the same deck, but without grief. I thought that was really clever to put that into the rotation of what does the exact best deck right now look like if we just take grief out. So that was cool, and we'll talk about more about that in a minute. Um, the It does take a lot of pressure off. Uh, I thought I'd be able to set up a little better. That's why I played like the Nadu combo deck and the slower deck like Bug Beanstalk. And turns out Wasteland Days stifle still just doesn't let you play Magic, but it doesn't let you play Magic in a way that is like interesting and back and forth and doesn't dovetail into a combo kill. And there was a lot of stuff that even though I just got my ass kicked for 2 hours, it was refreshing to play that Magic without grief around. How
Yeah,
did you feel?
yeah. So exactly what you talked or alluded to in the end there, just the fact that you have more freedom when it comes to deck building. And so for me, I've been playing blue black for several months, so my creativity has been very, let's say, specialized within how do I tweak at 1 or 2 slots week to week. But now it's like, oh, how can we utilize kind of forgotten archetypes or tier 2 strategies? Now can we kind of bring them to life, and how do they line up if you spend hours and hours on tuning them against the field? So the creativity part of it is actually the biggest one for me, where I generally enjoy all types of Magic. I could play Grief Mirrors all day, but this was also awesome for the creativity and just a good reminder of why I, love Legacy in the first place. So that's actually the feeling I have right now. And I do agree, one player got rolled for 2 hours, but that's not really like I came here to, play with prove a point with the blue-black reanimator deck and play some, cool stuff that I haven't even considered to play for many, many months. And yeah, I want to return to that for sure. So the future looks bright in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Just getting into some of the details of our matches in the context of the grief conversation. I think it was our game 3 in round 1 where you were still doing the rescaminator thing. I kept a hand where I said, like, even if he thought seizes me turn 1, that's the whole turn. Like, and you did, and it was
Yeah.
bad for me, but it wasn't like grief. Now what do I do with my mana? It was Thoughtseize pass, and now I get to play again. And just
Yep.
immediately the difference was felt and showcased in match 1 of our set here. The difference between a grief and a Thoughtseize. It's a lot.
Yeah, I agree about that. Thoughtseize is the, let's say, like the middle of a grief. Grief can be way better. Grief can be worse. If you go on mask mode with grief, sure you have an extra mana, but you're down on cards, etc. But obviously it's very potent with reanimate. We all know that. And Thoughtseize, it's actually funny from your point of view. It's like, okay, I'll take it. Like, let's take my medicine here with a Thoughtseize. But if you went grief, I would be scared, right? That is actually a very good illustration of what it feels like to get grief twice, and always like the threat of that looming, no matter which deck you play, basically.
Right. And in the context of a deck with reanimate and animate dead in it, the Thoughtseize doesn't represent something floating in the graveyard. Even if you do, like, one of the strengths of Rescaminator and the difference between the legacy shell and the modern one is the modern one, you have to have the not dead after all right away. It has to happen immediately, or else that grief is just in the graveyard and it was a 2-for-1. The You can 1-for-2 me now and then get your 2 cards back later on turn 3, 4, 5, whenever you draw reanimate in the future, and just
Yep,
take the pressure off now and then add pressure when you get around to it. And
definitely.
Thoughtseize is just a 1-for-1. You spent mana, I didn't, and we're both down a card, and my best card's gone, but you're down 2 life, and it's a much more fair exchange. And Thoughtseize is an insane Magic card. Like, it's, I think, the best individual card in Pioneer, except maybe like Treasure Cruise. Like, it's those two. And
Yeah,
Thoughtseize, from the moment it was printed in Lorwyn, was like $25 off the spoiler. It immediately made its way all the way back to Legacy and Vintage. Like,
yep,
Thoughtseize is one of the best interactive spells ever printed. And I'm
yep.
talking about it like, what a relief. It's just Thoughtseize. Like,
Yes, that is
clearly
a
Grief is
great
too
point.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, great point. That this card will take this any day of the week and be happy to play it, but hasn't been good enough for a while, and that says a lot about grief because this card is already a 9 out of 10 card, right? So yeah, great perspective. I enjoy that as well, and I agree about the grief lying around in the yard. In my deck building, I cut an animate dead to kind of hedge a little bit with the ratio. Like, I did some small tweaks here and there, but mainly the deck is intact because I still believe it's going to be strong. Again, using the same logic, if that's the case, then holy crap, the deck was good before the ban, right? If we can
Right.
still play it post ban and it's still awesome. It reminds me of the modern ban of Deathrite Shaman. People just kept playing, Jund in modern or in Legacy with the Deathrite ban. People just played Grixis Control and it was still good. So what does that tell us about pre-ban power level? So yeah, great. I love that perspective. That's actually awesome. I never thought about it that way. Like, if this is true, then this must be obscene, right? It's just solid logic.
Yeah, another thing that occurs to me when we're talking about Thoughtseize versus Grief is Faithless Looting in Modern, back when Phoenix was the number 1 deck. Faithless Looting, draw 2, discard 2, would have been better than 1 red, draw 2 cards in that format without the discard, because what the leftovers mattered for the synergies of the deck and the context of the format. And Grief, if you just compare it to Unmask 1 versus 1, you
Yep.
don't just put Unmask into Rescaminator and it's the same deck, because that something leaving around, that 3/2 in the graveyard that turns on all these other synergies, uh, is just, it is the Faithless Looting effect. Like, just two for one myself, and then whenever there's something going on, it's the same as Faithless Looting, which is card negative, but something's laying around for later. And
Yeah. Yeah,
that,
that's a
yeah,
great example of how context matters a lot, and you can't just, evaluate the cards on the surface. So I definitely agree about that. I want to talk a little bit about your deck choices. Let's see. The first deck you had up was the Beanstalk deck. So this is my opinion. I've never thought that playing Sultai Beanstalk was like exciting when I could play with Leyline Binding in my Beanstalk deck. So can you talk a little bit about like how is that deck on the scale of, let's say Beanstalk is a control deck and Delver is a tempo deck? Then what about where do you put this Sultai Beanstalk deck?
Yeah, Beanstalk, Saltite Beanstalk is intentionally in between those two things. When you need to sideboard out your wastelands and sideboard in some basic lands and then just play a control game, you have that mode. When you want to just have a bunch of Dazes, Wasteland Stifles, and Murktide on turn 3, you could do that. You can even board out your Beanstalks if you just need to be that deck. And that was the goal of that. And back at Eternal Weekend, 8 months ago at this point, almost
Yep.
more than half a year ago, uh, the 4 and 5 color Beanstalk decks were known entities, and the Sultai Beanstalk deck that Pokemoki and I did a bunch of work on,
I
we just
remember, yeah.
wastelanded the white sources out of the 4 and 5 color builds, and then their whole deck didn't work. And we were favored in the control version versus our tempo
Yeah.
version because we had their same draw engine, but we could kill them and they couldn't kill us.
Right.
And there's weak points where like Fatal Push doesn't kill Murktide Regent, or Minsk and Boo, or whatever mattered at the time, where
Yep.
Leyline Binding would be good, but you have better mana, you have cheaper spells, and that deck did not hang. The Sultai Beanstalk deck did not hang versus Rescaminator, because Rescaminator is doing what Sultai Beanstalk did, but better. Instead
Yep.
of a tempo deck that could play control, it's a combo deck that could play tempo. And it just took our whole spectrum of operation and condensed it into being several
Yep.
turns faster. And
Yeah, for sure.
not an option when grief round.
No, that's interesting because I've never, seen the appeal, and I only, look at Legacy and like on paper, and I'm like, oh, should I play this? Should I play that? And I've just never found that deck like too dangerous. But when you apply that context of the known entity, you want to have a leg up in the Beanstalk versus Beanstalk world, then that makes sense why the deck, saw the face of Earth, where it hasn't really seen play for a while, or at least hasn't done well, to my knowledge. So I'm excited to see if that deck comes back. That could be interesting. Next up, you had the Bant deck, and
Yep.
that's actually a deck I thought about building, but I would have built it with 80 cards because I feel like I want like my Zenith package cards to not show up naturally that often, if that makes sense. There's like probably a few stinkers in between. Uh, did you build it like strictly value wise, or what did your exact build look like?
This build is just from Burnt Taco on MTGO,
Ah,
who's
perfect.
been crushing with various Nadu shells from
Yep.
release weekend. And
Yeah.
I have played Yorion. I've played like the big clunky grindy version. I've played Yorion Breakfast, that is more combo. I've played
Yep.
60 card Nadu Breakfast. I've played Nadu Stoneblade, that's mostly a mid range deck but can do Nadu stuff. I've
Yep.
played the Turbo Zenith 60 card Nadu build, which is what I did today. And I just like all of those builds. I like that Nadu, you can be a Thassa's Oracle deck, or you could be a deck with like Elvish Reclaimer in it. Like, how fast do you want to go? How many engines do you want in your deck? And I just really like the Zenith build. I like pushing in, but of course it does have that problem you described, where I believe in one of our games I had Bristly Bill and Springheart and Tuco in my hand, and you were
Yeah.
attacking me with Psychic Frog. So
Yeah.
that does happen for sure.
Yeah, there's a little bit of the individual card quality that's always not the best when you play those decks, because then you draw, I don't know which mana dorks you used. You probably had like halflings in there.
Yep.
So then you draw a halfling on turn 5, that's not the best. Then you draw some bullet, that's not the best. Then you draw 2 of the Nomad and Core. You actually drew 3, and that was like kind of embarrassing. There's always a little bit of, individual card quality versus this engine that can take over games. Which maybe is true for most decks, but especially for that deck, I mean, we just saw it in the games that drawing 3 Nomads and Core is not going to do it in a mid-range war, basically.
Yeah, yeah. And I just wanted one of my decks to showcase something new that's gets a little better, because my other two decks were 8, 9, 10 months old, and they're just coming back. But And Nadu is new, it's exciting. There's still a lot of space to explore there, and I think Nadu is appropriate for Legacy. I don't
Yep.
think we're ever gonna get that one banned. I don't even know if it's good in Legacy, much less bannable, but it's a
Right.
fun new shell to explore, which is
Yeah,
why I
we're
wanted to
we're
go there.
exploring new stuff right now. Things will get optimized. That's how Magic works these days. That's another point of my theory is there will be a new best deck because people work so hard on finding it, and once they do, the power of social media, stuff like that will just push more people to play a certain deck, and then it will win more, and then it can become kind of a cascade. That's my theory anyway. That this would never have happened 15 years ago. That like this blue black deck would be 40% of the metagame or whatever it was. It's also a sign of the times, so to speak. We've
Yeah.
had like multiple decks throughout history. I remember Amulet Titan in Modern with Summer Bloom was like a 10% deck where it was completely insane. Looking in the back mirror now, we had Miracles in Legacy, Deathrite Shaman decks in Legacy. We saw way less play than they quote unquote should, in my opinion, at least.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
How did you like my Gut, by the way? I love Gut from Cube, and I actually think it has legs in Legacy as well. How do you like that card?
That's what I said when you cast it. I was like, oh, he's just cubing over there. And uh, in exactly that matchup that we were just playing, it was really good. Like, there's just a bunch of random material laying around. It's kind of like Broadside Bombardiers number 5 and 6, or however many you're playing,
Yep.
which was the best card in that set. Um, my list actually didn't include it, which was a huge mistake. I just went back to Eternal Weekend last year and was like, okay, let's look at what Borodus Initiative decks looked like back then and try
Right.
to. And then I thought, like, Modern Horizons 3 doesn't really have anything for this. Like, Witch Enchanter, that's not really something we want in this build. And
Right.
I looked at all the new cards and I looked at the old builds and I missed the things that happened in the middle. And Broadside Bombardiers is just so obviously belongs in that deck and was a huge mistake not to include it. But
Yeah,
that's the
the
sign.
menace.
Right, that's the sort of thing that would need to be updated. Uh, but another thing revelation I had was I thought that initiative was pushed out because Grief, your initiative creature reanimated on turn one, is
Yeah.
unplayable in the format where
Yeah.
Grief exists. But
Yeah.
when I was trying to cast initiative creatures and you were casting the One Ring, I was like, wait, is that 4-drop better than my 4-drops? Should we just be doing that? And your
That's
mana was
actually a good
better.
point.
Yeah, there
That's
was.
actually a good point. The One Ring is just a card where when it got printed, a lot of decks want to play it. Too many decks wanted to play it, in my opinion. Then it kind of got forgotten, and now it's like a modern card. And then every now and then it shows up in some artifact combo decks, but truth is probably it's like the News Jays is Ace to Mind Sculpt, and it should be in more decks than it currently is, which is kind of a funny evolution of the card being legal. I remember people played it in like Beanstalk decks right out the gates with this, which didn't make much sense. Like it was basically just I can produce 4 mana sometimes, and I used to love Jace the Mind Sculpt, but let's just jam this card. Um, but yeah, I just play a few in that deck. I think it's just absurd with Bombardier and Gut. Like the synergy is just too strong. I think I even had. Did I lethal with the One Ring at some point, or at least I got rid of a One Ring that would have killed me? Like just everything also just clicked for me in the matches today. Let's not beat around the bush. I mean, I executed fine, but I had very good working conditions with my draws and your draws,
Yeah,
like how they lined up.
you did both of those things. In our last game, you were kind of bleeding out to the ring and triple Ancient Tomb, and
Yeah,
then you got rid of your own ring to take the pressure off. And in the set before that, I had the board completely stable, and you could only cast one spell that turn from Archon of
yeah,
Emeria. You were not getting through in combat. I had too many blockers. I was at
yep.
exactly 6, and you drew Broadside Bombardier and threw the ring at me. And that was uh, so obviously a great card for that archetype, the whole Ancient Tomb archetype. And I actually apologized to my viewers. I was like, sorry, this isn't in the deck. It was a huge mistake. It should so clearly be that instead of Archon of Emeria in the list that I played.
Yeah, that card is quite awesome. Like it can just be tough to evaluate new aggressive cards, but I guess that's the advantage of having played 1,000 cube matches. Like you just see so many scenarios with these cards, and Bombardier is the obvious one, and Gut is kind of my. I want to bring that card to constructed. I think it has legs. Like it can break through a lot of board stalls. It has to do a lot with Orcus Bowmasters and how much that card kind of comes back because having the skeleton killed is not the best thing that can happen. But yeah, I'm excited for that deck.
Yeah, it's gonna be well. That was one of the decks that stood up to Rescaminator for a while, and then Rescaminator got Psychic Frog, and then the matchup got bad again. So
Yeah.
Red Prison, um, that's always gonna be a deck in Legacy. It's always gonna be somewhere in the top, 4 to 15 decks, somewhere in
Yeah.
there, and
Yeah.
people are gonna play it. So finding the right shell, finding ways to do stuff like race a Psychic Frog and a 4/1 menace gets around Psychic Frog. You're not stuck behind it. So that could be a
I'm
solution.
actually excited, especially in the Eldrazi world, of recent results. Last weekend's challenges kind of showed that Eldrazi's are on the rise, and I don't think that that can beat Turn 1 Blood Moon. Like, it's a huge if you're up in the Ancient Tomb mirror with just this slam dunk card, and your shell is decent across the field, right? The biggest problem with Mono Red is you can't really answer that many. If the metagame is too big, you can't answer too many decks at the same time. So that's why when the metagame is small, you need to play 4 Unlicensed Hearse in the main deck. That's cool. But what if you also need Trinisphere against some other decks and also need more than 4 Blood Moons against other decks, right? Then you're just spread too thin. So
Mm-hmm.
if the metagame becomes defined to a point where the red deck can fit enough haymakers in the main deck, I'm very excited for that deck.
Yeah, and that's a great general lesson for uh, any deck, any control deck, any prison deck, any. There's some decks like I don't know, like Doomsday or like Rescamator now, where the slots are really tight and the package is very clear. There's some room for innovation, but really you could play a stock list week to week and do fine. But a deck like Red Prison or a deck like Sultai Beanstalk, like how many Dazes, Spell Pierces, Stifles, Bowmasters, Frogs am I playing this week? Because it all matters. How many basics are in the 75? How many Surveil lands? That could change week to week and really change your win rate. So going
Definitely.
into a new, more open format, all of those brewers or deck specialists are going to be rewarded for specializing in the deck, or punished if they're just copying lists and trying to play Legacy.
Oh, for sure. By the way, I chuckled a bit at the which we both tried to get each other with Stifle, which is I just play one Stifle in my blue black deck, and I think it got you at some point. Yeah, it did. And you got
Yes.
me with another Stifle on an anime dead where I thought I was winning the game. So pretty cool back and forth with the stifling.
Yeah, I play one Stifle in my list as well, and then yeah, that you stifled me on the game where you went Wasteland Stifle, Wasteland Days, and
Yeah,
I was dead. So yeah,
that's the Canadian threshold formula.
yep, still strong. But Psychic Frog, that's the last big thing I really want to talk about here.
Yep.
It was in one of my decks. It was in two of your decks. It
Yeah.
was phenomenal every time it showed up,
Yeah.
and the game where you had Frog into my Fatal Push and then Double Daze. I actually
Hmm.
had Veil of Summer to back up my Fatal Push. If you just Force of Willed or something, I would have been fine. But it was Double Daze exactly.
Very
So
nice. Very nice.
yep, dodged that one. But
Oh yeah.
like I said at the time when you did it, I was like, okay, so he thinks going down to 0 permanence and is the right bet on Psychic Frog, and it totally was. Like that
Yep.
thing.
If I
It
get in the first swing and you kill it, I think it's like a wash. But if I get in the
yeah,
second hit, it's way better for me. That's basically how I analyzed it.
right, and you kind of got like a mini like gush psychotog effect there too, because Days picking up the two lands also were two more power and toughness that I had to think about when I played my own frog the next turn.
Yep.
Where if you were down two cards, we could have had a battle of who wants to discard the most and
Yep.
have a frog around, but you
I
just
was
had
ahead
more
on
cards
cards
away.
there, and I could have gotten tempted to, let's say I didn't days, double days. I could have gotten tempted to develop more lands, and as a result, I would have had a smaller hand. So you're definitely right. All of a sudden, I have 6 cards to your 4, and I can kind of free roll attack and then play interaction stuff afterwards. And you're just on the back foot there.
Yep. Yeah, the frog versus frog combat where you've drawn some cards, which puts you ahead immediately, and then it makes it hard for my frogs to ever block. So I might as well attack with them. And now I have a handful of cards, and uh, answering Psychic Frog is going to be a big part of the format moving forward. Like stuff like Lightning Bolt might just not even
Yeah.
see play. If like Grixis Delver mirrors come down to Frog, it might be main deck Pyroblast. It might be Fatal Push. maybe it's Unholy Heat, and if you have 6 cards to discard, good job, but you're gonna need them.
I was
So
actually going to say that. I had a game against Duke 12, one of the top dogs on Magic Online, and he unholy heated, and I just discarded 6 cards, and I had a 7/8,
I would
and
too.
that
Yeah.
worked.
Yep.
That worked. But yeah, you're definitely right. The soft removal is like force your opponent to discard 2 cards is not going to do anything if it's just going to attack like the Ophidian mode. It's going to buy that back so fast, and the fact that the counters stay on the creature is just amazing to think about. I'm not going to say I forget it, but I don't think about it enough. Let me put it that way. It's just so strong.
Yeah, absolutely. So learning how to do that combat math is going to be an important legacy skill, and building your decks to actually remove a frog of any size is going to be an important skill moving forward.
Yeah, great point.
Cool.
But I don't know, Brian. Maybe we have reached the end here. Maybe you wanna close us off here.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this. This was your idea. Thanks for inviting me to do it. It's a fun little feature, and thanks for making it quick and just putting me out of my misery in every single game as fast as possible.
Yeah, more or less. I had a lot of fun as well. I like the idea of showcasing different stuff, especially when we can wrap it up and go with a bit like this to end off the video. That's just my favorite thing about Magic is the theory, the thoughts that went into it, how we saw things play out, how they did play out, what we can learn moving forward. Magic is just such a deep game, and yeah, I really enjoyed this as well. Thanks so much for your time, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody, thanks for watching. We're out of here.